One of the guys I've wanted to talk to for months is a guy who was born into a military family, Air Force, and he's a really, I think, a decent American that was caught in kind of a Hitchcockian sort of film because somebody walked into his computer repair store and said, "Hey, can you fix this?" Well, that was Hunter Biden, and his life has been an absolute hell ever since. He's on with us now, John Paul Isaac. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show.
You bet. So can you tell me, this whole thing started on a Friday night, and Hunter Biden walks into your shop, right?
Yeah, it was Friday, April 12th, about 10 minutes before I closed. And on a Friday night, I was kind of excited to get out of the shop. Unfortunately, that excitement was shot down when Hunter walked in clutching 3 liquid-damaged MacBook Pros that he wanted to get data recovery from.
Did he? Did you know who he was at first?
No, I'm visually impaired, so
Okay.
when people walk in the store, I can't really see who they are. It wasn't until I started collecting his personal information and I requested his name and phone number and email that he was surprised that I didn't recognize him instantly. I guess he thinks he's some sort of local celebrity.
Yeah. All right. So take us through what happened. You had the laptops and you were asked to take all of this information off the hard drive. When you do that, normally do you see what's on the hard drive or is it just a transfer?
Well, in a perfect world, if it's say a transfer from a perfectly healthy machine to whatever the customer wants me to transfer it to, that process is generally automated. In this case, the one laptop that I was able to recover data from and that I actually checked in, that was a liquid damaged machine. It had power and stability issues. So I started to do a transfer and the power cut out on it. So I had to basically piecemeal the transfer over the next couple of days where I'd get it to power on long enough for me to manually drag a folder to drop it to our secure store server. In that process, because it's not automated and there's no automatic verification process, I had to verify that the data I was copying was intact. And it's in that verification process that I was made aware that there was some sensitive, embarrassing, and potentially criminal material on the laptop.
Okay, so you fixed it, and you expected him to come back, and you weren't going to do anything with the laptop, right?
Well, at that point in time, I completed the repair on April 16th or 15th. I gave him a ring to have him drop off an external hard drive so that I could transfer the data back. And he did. He came into the shop, dropped off a 2 terabyte Western Digital external hard drive, I believe he got from Best Buy. And I proceeded to copy the data that I recovered to that drive. He also requested that I pay him electronically through the Square credit card processing, which sends out an email and then an automated reminder. I then proceeded to call him the next day to let him know it was ready. And then I proceeded to call him to let him know it was ready for a couple of weeks after that and never got a response again.
So after 90 days, what happens to the laptop?
After 90 days on the paperwork that he signed, it clearly states that after 90 days, any abandoned property becomes the property of the Mac shop. So when it became my property, I wanted to make sure what I had seen was real because I hadn't looked at the laptop during that entire time. And I think it was mid-July where I finally dove into it. And that's when mainly because Burisma and Hunter were in the news cycle during the summer.
Yeah.
I was very concerned that, somebody would come looking for the embarrassing content. When he dropped off the laptop, his dad wasn't running for president.
Right.
But 2 weeks later, his dad's running for president. And I fully expected the Secret Service to kick down my door and take the laptop and me away. That's not terrifying. Unheard of. And I think we've seen demonstrated recently that the Secret Service is the Biden's cleaner service. So I had a legitimate fear. And then also my concern that there was material on the laptop that was part of a criminal investigation.
And so you gave it to the FBI. You, at this point, still trusted the FBI somewhat.
I trusted the FBI enough to know that this was the proper channel. This is what I had to do. I didn't, after witnessing what happened to Roger Stone that previous January, having witnessing the weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI during the Mueller investigation, I was definitely concerned. So that's why I enlisted my father, who's a 31-year career military colonel, to go to the Albuquerque FBI, because I was trying to keep myself out of this like a secret. I had a business and a place in my community.
Sure.
I didn't want to lose any of that. So I enlisted my father. He approached the Albuquerque, I want to say it was October 8th of 2019, the Albuquerque FBI office, and he was promptly kicked out. He was asked to lawyer up and don't talk about this. And
holy cow.
He made an effort to try to get them to drive, and they seemed not interested whatsoever in touching it with a 10-foot pole. So we felt pretty defeated at that point, and it was about a month later when an FBI agent reached out to my father in an effort to get a hold of me. A couple of weeks after that, I had the FBI meet me at my house. I expressed my concerns for my safety and what I was hoping to achieve by going to the FBI, which was basically get this thing out of my shop and give me some level of protection. If somebody comes looking for it, I want a phone number that I can call, and I have someone that I can reach out to should something go bad.
When this finally broke in the New York Post, you were destroyed. Your business was destroyed. You were, 51 different intelligence experts signed a statement saying that this was Russian disinformation, which made you, in league with the Russians. I know because we reached out to you and you were like, I'm just trying to get out of here. I don't want to do any interviews. I want to get out of here. How afraid for your life were you?
It really started the morning of October 14th. The New York Post released a story at 6:30 in the morning, and I was getting death threats by about 6:45. So it didn't take long for people to make the connection, and then it really didn't. Initially, it was, I'm a hacker, I'm a thief. How could I do this?
Yeah.
Then the narrative slowly shifted to, Putin thanks you for your service, and you're a stooge for Russia, and to have that idea out there that I colluded with a foreign power to affect an election, I mean, that's treasonous. And, I come from a very distinguished military family, and to have that, have the label traitor attached to my name is just, it's devastating for me.
Did you ever think that your country would do this to you?
No, I didn't. I really did not expect what I witnessed on October 14th. I mean, within 3 hours of the Post releasing the story, there was this digital iron curtain that descended around the story, and anybody trying to report on it. The New York Post was blocked from Twitter for 2 weeks. To see that level of collaboration and collusion, I figured out rather quickly that this had to be something they were prepared for. They were waiting for this to happen. And I think when Zuckerberg was dragged before Congress, on October 25th, and he said that the FBI reached out in late summer to Facebook, Twitter, and Google to warn them of a massive dump of foreign intelligence that's going to affect the election, and to be ready for it. And I can only imagine that was because on August 28th is when I overnighted a copy of Hunter's Drive to Rudy Giuliani's office. And if they had the next week, the FBI warned them, it kind of begs the question, who was under surveillance? Was I being monitored, or was the office of the President of the United States being monitored?
You recently filed a lawsuit against Adam Schiff, and I want to say I love you for that. CNN, The Daily Beast, Politico. Why are you suing these guys?
Well, I think Adam Schiff is pretty clear. He had no problem going on Wolf Blitzer on the 16th of October to tell the American people that this was a operation run out of the Kremlin. He's supposed to be the chair of the Intelligence Committee, but he was handed zero intelligence. If anything, the intelligence community at the time was trying to convey that this had nothing to do with Russia. And he went on the news anyway to spread this narrative. And I think that that's a major problem, because the narrative that was spread is the narrative that seems to be sticking for a lot of things. Let's blame Russia. Let's blame Russia for the 2016 election. Let's blame Russia for collusion with Trump. And they tried it again, except I'm the last person you could ever possibly call a Russian. My family has a history of fighting during the entirety of the Cold War against communism. So I think they just chose the wrong guy.
You sound pretty together, and I'm glad to hear that. We prayed for you. I think a lot of people in the country prayed for you. I'm doing a special tonight on how this is about Joe Biden. I'm not sure how much of the laptop you read, because it's yours, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the FBI has it now. I gave it to them. They gave me a receipt for it.
But you don't. Wait. You'll never get it back. Mm-hmm. Do you? You have a copy of it, though, didn't you? I mean, I would have. Mm-hmm. I've seen. You did. Okay, good. Did you?
I made a copy. Yeah. I made 2 copies before I went to the FBI. I made a copy to give to my father so he could go to the FBI with it. I also made a copy to give to a close friend of mine who, should anything happen to me, she had explicit instructions to hand deliver this to the one person that was into Ukraine during the summer of 2019, looking up the same information that I was in possession of, and that was Rudy Giuliani. And this was a decision I made back in early October of 2019. So time passes, almost a year goes by, and it turns out that would be the same drive that I would mail to Rudy Giuliani. I am in possession of my father's copy, which predates Rudy. So if there's any question out there of any data that's been erroneously or maliciously added to any copies that are out there, we have a copy that predates Rudy's that we can always compare it to, and I've definitely offered that as options to anybody who questions the integrity of the data that's out there.
The media says that they are, we realize now it wasn't a Russian operative, a Russian operative and a Russian op. However, they're making this about the son, not the father. This is clearly about the father, don't you think?
That was my concern. I mean, the concerns I had for national security weren't about Hunter. I mean, sure, there was like, wow, this guy's incredibly reckless with this technology. I wouldn't be surprised if the Russians had a copy of his laptop or the Chinese had a copy of the laptop. So, yeah, there was that level of Hunter-based national security. But to see how Blue Star Strategies was on a weekly basis sending information directly from the White House, not the vice president's office, but the White House, all policies towards Ukraine, anything that had to do with Ukraine, including the vice president's travel schedule, which should be a state secret, was being sent in the open, not secured, to private Ukrainian citizens that were running a natural gas company that employed the vice president's son. That was a concern of mine, because this is stuff that you shouldn't send out in the open, and you shouldn't send to somebody that's going to financially benefit your offspring.
And now that we are involved in war, I question everything that is going on. I can't thank you enough, John. And is there a way for people to help? I know that there's a Give, Send, Go, because you are under tremendous financial pressure. And I think you can just go to Give, Send, Go, Build Back Mac Isaac, ISAAC. Is that the best way that people help you?
My friend Kristen, I've never wanted to profit off of my actions during this entire process. Of course. Even when it came to mailing a copy of the drive to Rudy Giuliani's office, I refused to take a credit card because I did not want. I've seen how money can pervert noble efforts. And I did not want to fall into that trap. And I still was kind of reluctant to go with any form of fundraising because, again, I made my bet. I'll lay in it. I don't expect American people to foot the bill. My friend convinced me, plus Miranda Devine informed me that my any money that I plan to achieve through my book will probably take a while to get there. So I needed to do something, or I'm not going to survive this.
Okay.
And I need to survive this so I can continue to fight. So my friend set up my Give, Send, Go for me, and I'm grateful. Actually, I do want to say how I am completely astounded by the support that I've received, not just monetarily, but prayers and just general support from all walks of life and all corners of this country.
I'm glad.
And I can tell you, that support's given me the strength to make it this far, because it got pretty dark like a year and so ago, and You know, if it wasn't for the support from the American people, I wouldn't have the strength to continue this fight. And
John,
now I know how big this fight is.
I gotta go. I'm against a network break. I'd love to have you on again. Give, Send, Go. Build Back Mac Isaac.